and welcome to Gaming the System. And today we have got Anya, who is joining us, and she is a member of the Women's Equality Party and a active participant in the LGBTQI caucus, supporting them with their social media, so all of their tweets and things, I guess. She's joining us to talk about taking a break from gaming, although I think we're probably going to touch on quite a lot of topics this evening. So, and I'm also joined by Alex and Matt as well. So, yeah. Okay. So, Anya, as you're a new person on our podcast today, our third guest. Can you tell us a little bit about your background in gaming, and sort of maybe what sort of games you play and how long you've been gaming?
Background in gaming, gosh, well, I'm in my late 50s, so you could say my gaming goes back to the 80s. ZX Spectrum, Commodore 64. That's I think the Commodore 64 was where I really fell in love with gaming. Progressed then onto the NES, onto the SNES, onto Mega Drive as well. And during that period, the kids loved it because there's six kids and they all absolutely adored games. And I think if you look back to those days, it was more of a family thing with those. I think it's more of a family because it was more involved. You had to remember where you were in platform games because once you died, you died. You went right back to the beginning. So that fostered a sort of family sense where the kids would say, no, left next, quick. After that, I went on to the Xbox and through the various generations of Xbox games. I like playing a game. I was addicted to Fable. I spent over a year every evening playing Fable. Dragon's Age, I loved that. So you could get. I'm probably into fantasy games more than anything. Nice thing about Fable is it was sort of the rustic setting that was given to it all as well, which absolutely appealed to me. Yeah, Halo. I have to mention Halo as well. Never having a PC, not being into PC gaming, never having a PC that was powerful enough. When I first saw Halo on the Xbox, it just blew us away. It's absolutely, oh my word, it just blew you away. You just got so focused into it. And I didn't realize it was groundbreaking at the time because not having played PC games, to me, it was groundbreaking for the fact that I jumped from something like the SNES onto Halo on the Xbox. Now, that in itself was just totally mind-blowing. It's not until later on that you realise that the impact that Halo and other games have had on the industry. ESO. My main game at the moment is ESO. Again, fantasy, warfare, attention to detail. I think that's highly important, and that's what appeals to me. Platform games, I think they've changed as the years have gone on. I go back to like Bounty Bob. There's a Murray Mole, and Donkey Kong, Jet Set Willy, all those, but I'm not overly keen on platforms nowadays. Not over the last, I'd say, 6-7 years. I think the appeal has changed from my perspective on them. I also do, if I fancy a game where I can just switch it on, play it 10-15 minutes and then go out, it's FIFA. To me, FIFA's the go-to if you're in the fancy somewhat quick. Get in, play a game, then you can you got a choice. You can either continue or you can just switch it off and carry on. To me, that's the stress reliever, the short-term stress reliever. Go in, have a kick around, win the World Cup as the England women's team, take a photo, put it in a screenshot, have it as a desktop wallpaper. I've also got that as one of my Zoom pics. You know, England's women holding up the World Cup. It's behind me. It's on Zoom, and it's a case of stuff you lot. Well, gosh, I'm not into real-time strategy. I can't do that. I've tried, but screws your head off. I like a good story. I like clever puzzles. I like a well-designed world with a backstory. To me, backstories are highly important because you get that sense of belonging. You also get that sense of where your character is within the framework of the world. I mean, as in, so you discover law books. They detail events which have gone before, and sometimes if that relates to your race, you could build up the sort of a picture of your character's race and how history has impacted upon you. That's what I find out from games. To me, I get involved. I'd like to get involved. I like to get really into the nitty-gritty of the game and really feel with the character. So a backstory is highly important. It's got to be good. It's got to be well thought out. And of course, these things take ages to plot, plan, and develop. Yeah. And, keep a timeline too as well. So yeah. Apart from that, puzzles, Tetris, Yoshi's Island was a favourite of ours in the past on the NES.
So everything basically.
I've done a few muds, I've done a few moos, I've done a few mushes, I've done virtual reality. Yeah,
it's really exciting for me to speak to somebody who's actually done muds because I'm the only one so far in this little group. So that's really nice.
Oh God, I used to sort of pile through what have we got? That looks interesting. Because it's the inventiveness, it's a characterization, it's role playing to the nth degree. It's actually really is stretching yourself, putting yourself on a limb at times. Someone's I come across this basic case of the moment they consider you're deviating, letting the side down, you haven't quite got the grasp of what's going on, it's kept you off. Never to be again. You know?
Yeah.
It was some of them were harsh. They were harsh, some of them were harsh learners, harsh educators. But some of them were damn fun and some of them were X-rated.
You two should come and guest the bonus round where you two just talk about muds.
Yeah. Muds, yeah, we should do that. We should do that.
I don't know shit about muds.
We would love to that. Well, can I just ask, because we normally do a sort of like what's everyone playing this week. So I think, Anya, you said mostly Elder Scrolls Online. And so what about you, Alex? What have you been?
This week I've mostly been playing more of Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I've clocked up almost 50 hours now, but I've decided in the last week it's really turned into Orlog because I have finally grasped how to win Orlog and I've been playing it over and over and over and just getting more God's favours. Those are like little extras you can use to kind of gain an advantage within the game. It's basically a dice game and you've got tokens and God favours and your little stones, which are like your lives. It's quite tactical, but once you figure out what the point of the game is, which I didn't know for quite a while, now that I've figured it out, it's become much more interesting and I'm actually winning more often than not now. So I've basically, every time I popped on, I just played Orlog for most of the time and then eventually decided I should probably try going to to Asgard for a bit, because one of the elements of the later Assassin's Creeds now is taking a look at the mythology of the particular time or culture that you're playing in. So in this case, it's Norse mythology. So I've taken a trip to Asgard, which is a literal trip, I suspect, as well. So that's been quite interesting, and I've just been riding a giant elk or reindeer.
Oh.
I don't know what the difference is around Asgard and being like, yes, I'm a god. This is me. And so that's pretty much my gaming, is either Orlog or riding an elk.
Wow.
Yeah.
Matt, what about you? What have you been gaming this week?
So I've spent the last month or two playing just an infinite amount of free mobile games. I found that they are wonderful ways to just kill some time, and I haven't been feeling very good for the last 2 months. And they've been really, really good to be just not have to think about what you're playing so much. Not thinking about, I go back on, turn the console on, choose a game, carry on with something like with some that feels like it's a big deal. And having all these little things have been really, really, really good. So that's something I'd like to talk about in a future mobile game episode, because I have an entirely new perspective on them. Onto consoles, I've been going between Call of Duty Black Ops 3, which I'm really enjoying. Some of my favorite Call of Duty games are the ones that are like not what you think. It's a bit like Assassin's Creed. Some like Assassin's Creed Brotherhood would be my favorite one, even though that's not Brotherhood, Revelations. So you think it'd be 2 or Black Flag or something, but so I've been really enjoying that. But then the absolute king of the castle at the minute is the Hitman games. I don't know if any of you have played them, but they are. Have you? They're masterpieces. Have you played any of the recent ones?
I've played a little bit of the first newest Hitman, if that makes sense, of that trilogy. But I haven't played a massive amount. But I must get into it because I've heard great things.
Are transcendent games. Games that there are good games, there are great games, but then sometimes there are those transcendent ones where you think, how did they make this? It's as close to flawless as you can get, and it's precise and elegant, and that's where I've been finding the best writing recently as well. So that is just wonderful.
Oh. Well, I've been I went back to Animal Crossing because Caroline's recently picked it up, so that made me think that I needed to log in and have a go. But I didn't get a lot of time to play that. But I've mostly been playing Dragon Age Inquisition, which I'd had a bit of a break from while I did Resident Evil, The Village. But I'm really near to the final boss, and I'm scared, so I'm not doing that. So I'm sort of keep putting that off at the moment. So I'm playing Dragon Age Inquisition, which is awesome, and you know, as you were saying, Anya, about storylines and worlds and all of that, it's great. I mean, I played the first one all the way through. I played most of the second one, but I didn't finish it. But this is brilliant. So I'm loving it, and I can dip into it and play a few hours and then dip out again. And I'm also playing RimWorld because Caroline got me completely hooked on it, and I'm so bad at it. But I'm doing all right at the moment, so this is good. So
honorable mention. There are a small series of games called the Go games on.
I know this. Yeah.
There's Hitman Go, Lara Croft Go, and Deus Ex Go, and Hitman Sniper.
It's good.
They are just
so good.
Just beautiful small slices of elegant art of game making, and I can't recommend them enough. Well worth the money.
Awesome. So, Anya, I think we got a feel for the sorts of games that you like and your varied and long gaming experience. But just you know, we're here to talk about like taking a break from gaming and coming back to gaming. So sort of briefly, before you took a break from gaming, what was your, well, I'm wondering if maybe might come back to that question, because I feel like it might be a bit, yeah, we'll come back to that. So we feel that gaming is a feminist issue here at Gaming the System, and that we're sort of looking at the feminist world and feminism through the gaming lens. How do you feel that gaming is a feminist issue, and sort of how would you explain that to people who say, oh, you know, it's just gaming or something like that?
As far as I'm concerned, everything is a feminist issue, because everything has been subjected to patriarchy. When it comes to gaming, gosh, what about the early opinion gaming? It's boys in the bedroom, gaming away, doing things on their computers and PCs. And it was frowned upon. No, I wouldn't say it's frowned upon. It was like a total anathema. A girl playing a game, a girl touching a game. What do they know? It's not their... No, feminism is a vital part of everything in life. Gaming is no exception. In fact, in some ways, I think because of the way the actual gaming world and those who play games is like a structured world within a world, I think it blows things up if you're willing to open your eyes to see. I think it really focuses lenses on what's wrong with everything in society. You've got, I mean, God, where do you start? Female clothing, female body shapes. God, that's the standard. And then you go on to like perceived roles within games as well. The fact that even when you get a game that is what's the word, animomorphic, where you promote animals instead, they're obviously male animals. There aren't very many games which has a lead female or even a collection. The only thing I think of would be some of the Sonic games where you've got the various factions within there, where you have got an all-girls team within that, which was nice, but they made it twee. You know? It just really gets my goats up, which is why I just really admire what goes on within this podcast and all your streaming, because there needs to be a clear cut through that gaming is, I suppose people don't see the two, because again, it's this fracturing of gaming from the real world, and because it's not seen as it's not seen as things that normal people do. Those that, I mean, I know during the pandemic there's been reports about more and more people are gaming, but I think that's more and more men with their families, with their children, because the main priority a woman has, because of patriarchy pressure, is to get that dinner, get that meal on the plate, get the money to pay the bills. Even through the pandemic, that's exemplified as well. Hubby is on furlough, so you've got less money. And that translates into the fact that it's the men who have more time, even though it should be a joint thing. They better have more time to game because they have the spending power. If a woman was to spend basically a proportion of a household income on what a man spends his money on, he'd call her into question.
Mm.
No. Who's going to pay the bills? How are we going to pay the bills? How are we going to do this? How are we going to pay that? How are we going to eat? How are we going to put away for the future? What about the kids' clothes? And that is I think that's really one of the big issues within gaming and feminism, that despite the rise of female gamers, it's still not seen as a normal
No.
option.
I think it's really interesting what you said about the pandemic, because actually I was looking at some figures the other day and they were saying that actually there's been a slight drop in the percentage of women who are gaming over 2020, just a couple of percent, but obviously up until then it's been a gradual increase, and there was just this drop back. And I didn't think about it from that perspective, but now that you're saying that, that there may be this, I know that women were picking up the slack in the pandemic, and that even though both people were home, they were still doing the majority of the work in the home. And I wonder what impact that's had. And also, as you say about the spending power, that figure, it was quite shocking, the distinction between the amount of games that men buy and the amount of games that women buy. And so obviously if they are gaming, then maybe they're gaming on games that already happen to be in the house, as opposed to going out and making those choices. But we talk a lot about that the industry isn't necessarily very inclusive in the sorts of games it's providing, and the sorts of characters and the sorts of styles of gaming, and that doesn't necessarily appeal to everyone. I don't know whether you, Alex or Matt, have anything that you'd like to add.
You just made me think, talking about the pandemic and how something that makes me want to, I can't imagine how it feels. So obviously I'm a cis white dude. I can't imagine the galling awfulness of the amount of unpaid work that women do and are expected to do, because when everyone beneath being a cis straight white man is where people view you as an opportunity to save money. That's what the pay gap is. For every woman you're paying 78 pence on the pound, you're saving 22 pence. And when you've got a woman who the husband works and the woman stays at home and looks after the kids, that is unpaid care work. So I'm thinking that if Alex, you had a son, and Jem, you've got a daughter, if you're looking after them like yourselves, you don't get anything for that. If you swapped kids for the day, you would pay each other for that caring of the child, which shows that yes,
maybe you're onto something.
It is valued work. And it's always that's what the patriarchy does. It says, oh, this is traditional. No, there's this and this, and women like this and men like this. No, it's men decided we want the cool jobs and the easy jobs, and women get the shit jobs. Going out and having a job where you've got authority, you make money, you get respect, you get responsibilities. That's work, and it's good. If you're a woman at home with the kids, you're the one doing diapers, you're the one cooking, cleaning, taking them to school. The shit jobs. And that's what it comes down to.
I don't think it's that it's the shit jobs. I think it's that it has so little respect in our society that we don't, that's really important.
For granted.
Somebody has to deal with those dirty nappies and feed those children. And it is really important. And it's not just that, it's also the caring roles for like older family members or unwell family members. Whatever.
My mum is essentially my part-time carer as well. So she has that caring role for me, because there are certain things I need help with, like laundry and shopping and cooking and things. So yeah, I think women have probably had their responsibilities piled on a lot more during the pandemic, because not only have they got childcare, but they've also had, I suspect, to deal with homeschooling and working from home with only limited resources, like one computer or whatever else. So it's not surprising that that they've had less time to game, frankly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, I'm going to move on because I said that we'd talk about everything today. We haven't even started on the actual topic. So Anya, why did you decide to take a break from gaming? What prompted you to take a break from gaming?
I think the first major event that influenced my decision to take a break is the fact that 2014 I became a widow. My partner died, and I look back now, and the evenings were spent once we got the kids into bed. My evenings were spent. I'd be on the Xbox. She'd be sitting behind me watching, and that was how we gamed. She was more into watching, so we used to. Well, which is why we got through Fable every night for over a year. On some occasions, what I do is to be a case of, right, I'm the controller. You tell me what you want doing, and we played it that way. After she died, I decided that the only way I was going to go on with my life and be happy about it was to actually transition. So 2015, I made the decision to transition. That affected my gaming because I got trapped in this impression of what it's like to be a woman, or impression of what it's like to be female. Speaking for myself, although this probably resonates with others, you're brought up with a patriarchal view of what it's like to be female. Now, again, it's similar to women who are rising up the ladder in work. For every guy who puts in 10 hours, you have to put in 30 just to get to keep at the same level. And if you want a promotion, you have to put in another 20% on top. Because of the way things are, there are, in order to be recognized, validated as a woman, some trans people feel that they have to subscribe to the image patriarchy gives them, but they have to do it double or triple. And because of that, for some unknown stupid reason, I got it into my head, I mustn't game. That's what happened at that particular time. I mustn't game. So I stopped. Patriarchy, the patriarchal system, the way it dictates what female is, what male is, and how you are perceived. Even though I'm in my own home, the fact that I was female and gaming, it was a case of I mustn't. So I didn't. That's why it came to a dead halt. And it's just crazy because there's so much pressure, patriarchal pressure. I mean, I can now relate to teen girls, where it's a case of you dress in a certain way to be accepted, to be recognised. If somebody makes a comment, you take that comment and you enhance upon it. You just, yeah, and gaming had a very, very strong image. You don't game. So I didn't.
That's the insidiousness of the patriarchy, that it applies such profound pressure externally that it gets inside you so that you start oppressing yourself. And it has such a, like, being the expectations of men as well, that cause the leading rate of death for, I think it's under the age of, it's 35 is suicide.
Yeah.
Because the patriarchy teaches us that we're not supposed to express emotion, that we're supposed to be strong, that we're supposed to be breadwinners. And then that gets, the message of the patriarchy is internalized, and then it just leaves you to brutalize yourself. And so I think what you've described there is a perfect example of how patriarchy just can crush you without lifting a finger, because the work is already done. They've indoctrinated you into doing yourself harm, which is abominable.
I mean, I went as far as I even went as far as searching on the internet games that girls play. Sorry, Alex.
No, it's right. No, I was just going to say it's really sad to hear, because I can tell, having only just met you, how much you love gaming, like how enthusiastic you were when you were talking about your gaming history, and to have that 180 turn, it must have been really difficult. Yeah. So.
How was it? So during that time when you weren't gaming, how did you feel? Was it as Alex says? Was it difficult because you didn't have this something that clearly had been such a big part of your life, and also a big part of your life with your partner as well? So you walking away from that is a hard thing to do. And was that how was that experience for you when you weren't in that time you weren't gaming?
I used to look at all the games I've got. I don't know. You've got all these games, and they're on a bookshelf and they're upstairs, and you look at them and you feel the thrill. You do get. I always get excited. I can see a row of games. I can see a row of games in a shop, and you think, what have they got? But I used to look at these games and I used to think, I can't. I shouldn't. And I suppose alongside games, the other thing that's always been throughout my life is music. So maybe I turn to music more. Spent my time catching up on bands I used to be able to listen to. I mean, again, because another thing is money. You've got a family. We had 6 kids to feed. After a while, you can't afford to buy games. Matt, come on. After the first 4, it doesn't matter. But it doesn't. Honestly, it was another 3 or 4 after 4. No, there were 6 kids. There were 6 kids, and obviously your money dries up, and you make these choices where you don't buy anything like that. But music's been with me. I suppose I put myself more into music. Looking at bands I used to know, are they still going? What have they released in the intervening 10 or so years? What new forms of music are there? Where has it gone? Where's it gone to? So I sort of I replaced it with music, but that doesn't mean I didn't stop enjoying the prospect or the thought, because I mean I've got you got all these games up there and they're sitting on shelves and you're thinking, oh, if only I could. And you sort of think, I mean, over the course of time, it starts becoming obvious that you've been a bit of a prat, because you start seeing female gamers. Oh, gosh, I can't remember their names now. Early days of the Xbox, there was a group of them. Can't remember their names now. But they were promoted by Xbox at various events, blah, blah, blah. And you start thinking, hang on a minute, maybe I can. And then the trans issue kicks in. What if somebody finds out? And then that, I mean, are you going to find out? I mean, I'm open above board about it in most cases because I don't like lies. But it's a bit of an issue because you get this reputation online is vile, it's vitriolic. There's male aggression, there's male hate, there's and that's one reason why my experiences of gaming multiplayer is virtually zilch, because that's always been something I've been wary of, been scared about. In ESO, if I forget to turn off all the appropriate filters, if somebody asks me to join a group or go on a quick raid, I panic and I just switch everything off. No, can't do that. Off goes the game. Off goes the Xbox even. It's because no, they can't touch me. I'm safe. Now, that still goes on. But yeah, I really saw that women were starting to game.
Yeah.
One of those things that you can't be what you can't see. And what you were just saying, it chimes in perfectly with the message, the patriarchy, like ingrained in you when you transitioned, that girls don't do this, girls don't do that, and with being online, that you have to hide yourself. That these spaces, in order for you to feel safe, you have to the choice is either you hide or you just don't get to use it. Those places, saying this place is not for you. You are not welcome here. That's why I am hoping that places will become more inclusive, because you need to be able to have places where you don't have to hide, and that is made profoundly clear. That's why I think the Women's Equality Party LGBT plus caucus is excellent, because that's a place where you can show up as you are, and that's a place where you'll be safe and can thrive in safety, because people thrive most when they feel safe.
Yeah, absolutely.
There are too many places where particularly women aren't safe, which is everywhere, literally. There isn't a single place on the planet where it is truly safe to exist as something other than a cisgender man.
I mean, I think there's obviously really fundamental sort of experience that you've shared there with us both, but and both what you were saying as well, Matt. And I think I took a break from gaming, and mine was because I used to very heavily play World of Warcraft, and I was a member of a raiding guild, and I met some awesome people, and but I separated from my husband, and he was the leader of the raiding guild. So when that relationship fell apart, I lost lost my gaming experience, and he also ran the mud that I played, so I lost everything and walked away from it. It was a choice. He didn't make me leave, but it just didn't work, and I associated gaming for a long time with a very dark and sad part of my life, and I think so for a long time there was a part of me that felt that I'd spent too much time gaming. I'd given too much of my life to gaming, and it was not the positive and happy experience that I think gaming can be, and it took me a very long time, actually years, to kind of slowly work my way back. But I mean, like you were describing, you know, I never stopped looking at games and thinking like, oh, I wish I could go back, and occasionally I'd dip back in, but it was always sort of, I mean, I actually got sort of a sort of trauma response when I went back into World of Warcraft, because it had so much association for me. And I think, you know, like, especially if you like, well, I mean, all of us like immersive gaming, and we all get very engaged with our gaming experiences. And I think that is the case for many people. And I think if you have that, then you do put a lot of yourself into those environments. And so you have a very strong emotive reaction to them. And sometimes they're an escape from reality, which for a while World of Warcraft certainly was for me. And sometimes that reality just doesn't feel safe anymore, so you have to step away from it, and then you're a bit sort of bereft and a bit adrift. But as you were saying about sort of coming back to your love of music, I learned all sorts of other things that I enjoyed doing, you know, and I found I used the time that I'd been sinking into gaming very positively, and it is actually what essentially brought me to the Women's Equality Party, because I needed to fill my time with something. So I think that was a really positive experience for me in the end. But it's been a long road to sort of learning that I can come back to gaming, and that gaming is a safe environment, and that gaming is not a waste of time, and, you know, all of those things that society also tells us, you know, like gaming is just for kids, gaming something that, you know, is a waste of space. You know, it's more acceptable to spend your entire evening sat on the sofa watching soaps than it is to spend the evening gaming in today's society. And I think, you know, I struggled a lot with that, you know, the idea that I have to be productive and my time has to be productive.
Yes.
But I'm very pleased that I am back in, and actually doing Gaming the System is one of the things that has given me permission to game. And I know we've talked about that in the past. But I'm really interested because I just made an assumption when I sent out questions for today, which was that Alex and Matt have never taken a break from gaming. And after I sent the questions out, I thought that was very presumptive of me. I don't know whether you've ever taken a break from gaming, but if you have, why? And if you haven't, can you imagine anything that would lead to you taking a break from gaming? I'll start with Alex first.
Okay. I don't think I ever have taken a break per se. I think there's always been at least something I'm doing on some level that is gaming, if we especially include board gaming in that definition. Because, like Anya, gaming's always been quite family orientated. Like, a lot of my family watch me play. We always play loads of board games at Christmas, so it's a very nostalgic, like, family orientated activity. So in that way, it's always been present. And I think in terms of anything that would take me away from gaming, that is a good question. I don't know. I can't think of, I mean, there may be a point in my future at which I decide to have children. I don't think it's going to happen because that's how I feel at the moment. But if that were to happen, that would probably impact on my ability to game quite a large amount, I would say. But I don't think, I mean, when I think about, like, say if I reach the age of, I don't know, like in my 80s or something, I'd probably still game in the way that you play cards or board games, certainly. I don't know, because it depends what the future's going to be like. We could all have like gaming glasses or something where you have like a game in front of your eyes. I don't know, I'm just making things up now. But no, I don't think I'll ever stop gaming. I hope not anyway, because it's a massive part of my life, and I think it impacts lots of different areas of my life. And it's how I have a lot of friends, and also it's an important part of family time as well.
Yeah.
So I would say that it's too big a thing to not have in my life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Matt, you've got a lot. Happens, but yeah.
Sorry, Alex. I didn't.
Sorry. Yeah.
Matt, you've talked a lot about how gaming is so important for your sort of mental well-being. And can you ever imagine any scenario where you would walk away from it?
Well, so I've been gaming since I was 3 or 4, I think. Started with the Hercules game on PS1. And then it was quite steady up until a few years ago, really, because I'd play Assassin's Creed, I'd play Call of Duty, I'd play God of War, and then those were the main ones. And I'd play that, and then they weren't so central because I had school. Which is a fucking racket. I have a lot of issues with school and the schooling system. So that was sort of, your life is sort of either side of school, and then got up to, I was doing other things, and then university. I played like on and off through, but with university there were a million things to do all the time, so it was one of many things. But then 5 years ago, I was very ill and had to stop my university stuff altogether. And then the last 5 years, it's been a real rebuilding of who and what I am, because I've been dealing with mental and physical illness. That has been the main focus of my life the last few years. And so that's when gaming has really stepped up to the plate in terms of providing me with profound support and ways to not only numb what I might be going through in order to get me through it, but also to give that possibility of joy and euphoria and awesomeness that comes with consuming games. Because you consume the art of games in a far different way than you consume a book or a TV show or a film. It's a really integrating process, something that you're not just interacting with like that. You're using your brain, you're using your motor skills, you're building new pathways and learning new stories. And you can spend 100 hours in one game, and you know that if you're feeling really anxious and you've got a game like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, you know that it'll stretch off forever and you don't need to worry about what you're going to do next for a little while. So that's what my relationship with gaming has become so important over the last few years, because it provides so much support and interaction and engagement. As for the future, I can't see it right now. I think there's always a possibility of something, but for the time being, I fully intend to become a game developer myself, because I'm working on a game about a magic chicken at the minute, and I've got loads of game ideas and learning how to make them myself. And I have the pipe dream of, we'll get this podcast really popular. We'll do live shows. We'll be monetized. We'll make money. I'll take the money from this and my other job. My cut of it. We'll split it into fifths, and then we'll put one into the GTS piggy bank, and then we all get a quarter. So there's that. And then I'll start my own little game studio and make games and play games, and everything will be about games. So that is the plan. So I can't see a way out of it as it stands.
Oh, thank you. So, okay. So what brought you back to gaming then, Anya?
Xbox One.
You can't talk about Xbox in here, Matt's like
I'm really sorry. We say that we are intersectional to a fault. But every single time I try to think of intersectionality in terms of game consoles, I cannot bring myself to say it about Xbox players. It's one of those things that really it's my unconscious bias that I'm very conscious of, but I can't change it. So I do twitch whenever someone says they love Xboxes, but
I think it's a challenge. I think
that's one of my that's my flaw. I'm sure I have others.
The story behind me and the Xbox is that when the original Xbox came out, in recognition of all the effort I put into looking after my wife, the fact that I gave up work just to look after her, I was on carer's allowance, because she recognised what I'd given up and how much I cared for her. She bought me the first Xbox as a gift. That was the reintroduction. And that was how I just came to be Xbox only, because not having a lot of money, you don't push around. I mean, having said that, all the older sons went off onto the PlayStation, so that must say something. Yeah, the two oldest boys are into PlayStation, so hump to them. No, I mean, basically, it was the fact that you could get Halo on the Xbox, Fable, and other bits and pieces. I didn't particularly see the point to splash out cash we didn't have. And yeah, I mean, to be honest, yeah, the Xbox One got me back into gaming. The look, the representation on the screen, the games, and that coupled with the fact that there was this growing amount of female gamers now. And it's basically a case of, and the vital ingredient, I came into some money but at the right time, which allowed me to buy for myself the Xbox One, and it's grown from there. You don't want me to do a photo, do you, of all my Xboxes and drop it off to you, do you? You know, it's like Xbox porn to you, Matt. To me, Xbox porn, but to you, it's probably Xbox rubbish.
I just can't. Well. I can't. I've got a block inside me that will not allow to.
I have gone that far. I've settled that far back into gaming now. That.
Oh gosh, I'm excited.
That's my excess. No, you're impressed, are you, Matt? No, he's not impressed. No, but
I can't be. I'm sorry.
That's what got me back. The Xbox One got me back into gaming, and the games and the quality of the way they looked. That got me back into gaming.
Yeah.
And did you feel that your time away from gaming and what feels like a little bit of sort of a revelations really about how women in gaming and everything, how that is, do you feel that gave you a different insight? Do you feel that your relationship with gaming is different now, or did you just go back to how you always had been and you just gave yourself permission?
Confidence, and also my relationship with the Women's Equality Party. By then, I've been to conference, and I found a space where I felt comfortable and at home with. That fed onto confidence, and that enabled me to reclaim myself and reclaim my space for me. So, yeah, it was basically at the Women's Equality Party conference, and also the meeting the fabulous women within the party, and the way that gave and my activism as well. It gave me the confidence to say, I game, sod you. Basically it. And that's what
doesn't that just tell you how important it is, as Matt was saying, you know, about having safe spaces, having places where there is that diversity and acceptance, and all of that is so important. And you know, it's really important that the Women's Equality Party is that space, and I think, you know, that's really nice to hear, I think. I had a question, but it's gone. Does anyone else want to say anything while I...
Yeah, I'm just really glad that's such a positive thing, though. I'm just really glad that you've been able to have this foundation of this space that is the Women's Equality Party, and it has allowed you to build a competence from there, because it's always been there. It's just the patriarchy has smashed it down and eroded it. So it's just really positive to hear that that's happened now. I'm really glad.
And the fact that the world is not a safe place for people who aren't cis men, and that's why, like, the life coach culture can be very toxic. They say, if you just be positive, you're strong, you've got this, you're courageous. But it doesn't matter how strong and courageous and positive you are. If you're jogging alone at night, you're dangerous. You're in danger. And it makes me think about being the existential threat of being a black man in America, where it doesn't matter how confident you are and courageous you are and relaxed you are, you could be shot dead within 2 seconds at any point by a police officer. And the fact that people have to live with that existential threat is why the safe spaces are so vital, in order to find yourself and then deal with the reality of the world. And it's a devastating state of affairs, but at least you need to know your enemy. And by working with the Women's Equality Party, we know our enemy, which is the patriarchy. And then that's the foundation from which we can fight it, rather than fighting other people on the totem pole. That is just a waste of time.
Yeah. We've got 3 minutes left. So, and I've got lots of questions left. So we're just definitely going to have you back on. And I think it would be great to do a mud chat. But I'm going to ask everyone, we do like a wild card question at the end. So I wanted to ask everyone that if you had a magic wand and you could get one thing that you felt would change to make gaming more inclusive and more open to everyone, what would you do? What would the one change be? I'm going to go with Matt first.
Well, I've said quite often that I think the majority of men in power in particular are sort of they stopped growing when they were 14-year-old horny teenage boys. And then because that is everything, like 90% of everything that is produced is like this, what a 14-year-old horny teenage boy would want. That's why there's naked women everywhere and big, strong men. So I don't know what I'd do, but that truth that I perceive, just to have all these men realize that they're not, that the reason they're at the top of the game is because everyone else is excluded that is better than them, and that your best is the best of a 14-year-old horny teenage boy. Just to take them down that peg enough to go, okay, we have room to learn, and we should find people who are better than us that we can learn from. Something around that horny 14-year-old teenage boy idea.
Okay, and Alex.
I guess mine.
I actually have a wand. I have like
you
a
do?
little fairy wand.
You
can wave your wand.
Well, mine's probably quite influenced by my own lived experience and is probably quite biased in that way. But I was going to say a game that has a protagonist that is a wheelchair user that is as popular and sells as well as GTA 5. I'd say that it's wide reaching and that it allows you to understand the perspective of, for example, a wheelchair user and understand like just what it's like day to day to experience both the discrimination of being a woman and also being disabled, and because it's multi-layered. But obviously it'll be a really fun and cool game at the same time. I don't quite know how that would work, but some kind of like simulator would be cool. And the challenge would be to, I don't know, even something as simple as like catch the train from one end of the country to the other in less than this amount of time and do it in a wheelchair. That's a challenge.
You should do it. I'd buy it.
Yeah.
I've had
no,
ideas
that's
about
cool.
how awesome could you make a, like, imagine if Iron Man made a wheelchair
Yeah.
and then
That would
make
be
that game.
Yeah.
How awesome would that be?
That would be awesome. Iron chair.
That would be very
Yeah.
awesome. Iron chair.
Yeah.
There you go. We've got a name. We've got a
Yeah.
concept. We just need some investment.
Yeah.
We have an email address. Anya,
Patreon.
what would your magic one moment be?
I would like to see a developer come up with the concept that in any of their games, at random moments, you there's a crowd scene. There's always a crowd scene, or there's somebody you're talking to. At random moments, you swap places with the person you're talking to. They can be any colour, any sex, and as Alex said, they can be wheelchair bound, or they can be, well, bound is the wrong word, and I apologise on that one.
That's fine.
That's what you get with the Equality Party. You learn how to talk properly. Yeah, you've got this game mechanic where you switch either to the AI you're talking to or in the crowd seat, anybody in that crowd. The game, your game aim stays the same, but all of a sudden you could be any colour, any race, any religion, and that point changes with each replay of the game. You never know when it's going to happen. I would just love to see that just all of a sudden, wham! Oh no, I'm the enemy now. Wait a minute. But and then you've got within
that perspective, yeah.
Exactly. And within the game you also you can stop, pause and read your backstory. That way you get different perspectives on who is supposedly an enemy, and you get their reasons for being why they are, what they are, or where they are.
That's such a good concept.
That's what they do in The Last of Us Part 2, where you spend the first half of it, you have this evil enemy who you just want to go on your vengeance, cutting your way through the world, and then you finally find her, and then the perspectives switch, and so Ellie's been going through the last 3 days, and then you see Abby through the last 3 days. And it's literally, if you played it the other way around, then you think, oh, she's an evil monster, and then you play as her and you go, oh my god, they're both incredibly complex. And that game's brilliant. So yes, anything where you see they're the enemy. It's like Loki in the Marvel universe. Evil, but he loves his mum and she's dead.
Yeah. Walking in other people's shoes, isn't it? It's just that feeling. Anya, you shared some really lovely images with us of whether is it Elder Scrolls Online?
Yes.
Where are they from? I'm just going to show a couple of them. Just we do have to go, so because I'm going to get into such trouble with Caroline. We're running, but we've overrun now, so it doesn't matter. We can stay for another hour, you know. But I'm just going to show up, and if you could just tell us maybe where the photo was taken from. I've only managed to upload 2, so they're a bit random, but this is the first one.
Cool. That's very pretty.
That's beautiful. So where is this, Anya?
Oh gosh, that's on one of my recent attempts. Can't remember exactly the name of the area it's in now. Let me think quickly. It's probably gone, but no, it's on the outskirts of a desert plain, and I took that one because I just love when you get those God rays, and it's also the fact that you get the flowers in the corner there, and the this sort of stonework when you go onto the distance as well. And I just love the intricacy of the world, and I just love the fact that, well, everything has a part to play. You can be still, and there's animals moving around you, coming right up to you or wandering in the distance. And that's, I'm trying to remember it was, but
there's one.
Oh, my badger. I love my badger. That's probably been elsewhere where the yes, as I said, they've moved on to different parts of Tamriel now, and the nice thing is that each area has its own distinct flora and fauna, and the badgers have started. I've just started to come across the badgers, and they're a lot leaner, but sometimes you try and get. I'm trying to get some face shots because they are so cute. I've got some beautiful heron shots. I've really got to get them all together.
Yeah. We'll try and put them up on our Facebook page, perhaps, because I think it's just a really good example of how immersive these games can be. Anyway, I'm going to say thank you so much for coming, Anya. It's been a pleasure to have you here this evening, and Alex and Matt, always a pleasure. And Matt, can you do the share
the spiel?
I never know what to say.
Yes, if for anyone watching on YouTube or Twitch, please like, share, and subscribe. And if you ring the little notification bell, that will tell you every Thursday at 7 p.m. when we release a new video. On the second and third, whenever we release a bonus round, it will be in the mid-afternoon of that Thursday, and then we'll have the live show on the Thursday at 7 p.m. If you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, if you can leave a little comment, that helps them find us more in the algorithm and share us about, because we want as many eyes and ears on us as possible.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. And that's goodbye. Right. I'm not going to stop it just for a second. Matt, are you sure that we've got this? If I end stream, is it going to be there? I just suddenly thought halfway through,
it's been playing on the Gaming the System Twitch as well. So it's been playing on my Twitch, Gaming Systems Twitch, and it should be recorded onto Restream as well.
Fab. Okay.
Cool.
I'm ending the stream.